everybody. How you doing today? It's Kelly, pastor, police chaplain, marriage coach who helps couples have the lifelong marriage that they really want, and the author of this book, Turn It Up, How to Have the Lifelong Marriage That You Really Want. And I'm here today with another marriage tool that I think is really going to change the dynamic in your marriage. If you fall into this trap, I've got some good news for you. You can get out of it and turn it around. And here's the title of today's lesson. Should you use the word should in your marriage? Should you use the word should in your marriage? And I'm going to teach you how using the word should can be incredibly damaging to your relationship and absolutely to your marriage. There is a time and a place to use that, and I'm going to explain what to do. And then I'm going to give you some tools on what to say instead of the word should. But we all use the word should. You know, like, hey, you should mow the lawn. You should spend more time with me. You should get a job. Maybe you've said that to your husband or your wife. The other way we put shoulds is by using things like you need to. That's one of the traps I fall into. I start saying, well, you know, you need to. I mean, it's another way of saying should. Or you ought to. Or then, of course, the negative side of that is you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. But we all put shoulds on those that we love, okay? And there is a time and place, and I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But first off, I would like to encourage you to not should all over your husband or your wife. In fact, I want to encourage you, when you get up in the morning, look yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, today, I will not should all over my spouse. I will not should all over my kids. I will not should all over my coworkers or all over the people around me. Because if you do, you're going to have a much better day and things are going to go much better for you. You're going to have better relationships. So let's not should all over each other. But let me first give you 3 reasons why using should is damaging, okay? It's damaging. And then, like I say, I'm going to give you some replacement words for the word should, because sometimes, you know, it is important, to tell people or to suggest to them, things that they should do, to give them your input and your ideas, okay? But what I'm encouraging you to do is not put it in a should. So 3 reasons why using should is damaging to your marriage, whether you realize it or not. Number 1 is that it puts you in the place of superiority. Yeah, think about it. You see, there's one place in human relationships where it is appropriate, maybe 2. It is appropriate to use the word should. One of those places is actually the 2 places I can think of right now, because I just thought of a second one, is certainly in the home with your kids, okay? So you've got a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old, or in my case, my granddaughter lives with me. She just turned 5. She's so cute. And there are times when I will use the word should with her, because she doesn't know any better. But if you got a 2-year-old, you need to say, hey, honey, you shouldn't go out into the street. That's not safe for you. Hey, honey, please, you should pick up your toys. And so it's okay to use the word should because they don't know any better and they need to have that input. But when you use the word should with your husband, what are you doing, ladies? Yeah, you're treating him like one of the kids. You're becoming his mommy. You're telling him what to do. You should, go to work. You should clean the garage. You should. And don't be surprised when he says, I don't think so. Or maybe just ignores you, right? Yeah, that's the other common thing. When we get shoulded on, if I can use that phrase, we just ignore it because we don't like to be told what to do. But it puts you in the place of superiority. By the way, the other place that I recognize that where it's appropriate to use the word should is with a boss and an employee, right? Because your boss has the authority and the role and the function to tell you what to do for your job. Hey, here's what you should do about this, or here's what I want you to do, or this is your job. That is definitely using the word should, and it's appropriate. If you want to work for this guy, you need to get used to him or her telling you what to do, or the company. Now, maybe they may not tell you, if they're a good boss, they may not tell you how to do it, okay? But they're going to give you the parameters, I should say, of what you should do to be successful in your job, okay? So that is appropriate. But just remember, in a superiority kind of relationship, you have one person that's up and one person that's down, which is great when you've got a parent and a child, or a boss and an employee. But it's not so great when you have a wife and a husband, or a husband and a wife. That's one up is one down. Because ladies, you don't want your husband to tell you what you should do. And gentlemen, certainly you don't want your wife to tell you what you should do. Instead, what you want to do is cooperate and operate on the same level. So why is it wrong? Why is it damaging? Because it's very condescending when you use the word should. And it is damaging because it puts you in that place of superiority. And let's think about it. When you're superior to someone else, what are you doing? You're taking that place of arrogance. You're taking that place of, I know what's right and you don't. You're taking that place of saying, I'm smarter than you and I know what's best. So, it's very arrogant. And it really sends that message that you're in control and they're not, that they don't have a choice, but they've got to do whatever you want them to do. It really puts you in that place of superiority. And a should is basically telling your spouse what to do. You are giving orders. Okay? Just like the boss gives orders to his employee, just like parents give orders to their kids. Yeah, it works once again in those two relationships, but it doesn't work. And it causes lots of friction and a lot of problems when you start doing it with your husband or your wife. So that's number one. Number two, why is it damaging to your marriage, your relationships, to use the word should with another person, okay? Is that it shuts down all communication and sharing. Because basically, when you say, well, here's what you should do, okay, all you're saying is that I know what's best and you need to do it. Okay, you're not asking for their opinion. You're definitely not asking for their input. You're not even asking for their ideas. And let's face it, maybe their ideas are get the verbs right here. Maybe their ideas are better than your ideas because they've got a different perspective and they've got more experience perhaps in that area. But when you come in and start throwing shoulds around to your husband or your wife, basically what you're saying is shut up, sit down, and do what I tell you. Or shut up and get to work and do what I tell you, because maybe you're not telling them to sit down. You see what I mean, though, right? You are just shutting down all kind of communication and sharing. And, all right, it takes away the power of agreement. You see, the Bible, as I talked about in a previous video, the Bible, or God tells us in the Bible that God blesses us when we're in unity, when we have come together in agreement, okay? And if it takes away that opportunity for you to walk in agreement, instead, what you're now doing is that you're leading the way, you're giving orders, you're telling them how it's got to be, okay? Number three, why is it damaging? Is because it creates anger. Okay, it creates anger in two different ways. Number one is the pushback that your husband or your wife have, or just basically ignoring the shoulds. Okay, well so the second way that it produces anger is that it makes you angry if they don't do what you tell them they should do. So it makes them angry because you are telling them what to do. No one likes to be told, okay, hey, this is what you should do, or do this, okay? Nobody likes that. Why? Especially if you're trying to have an equal relationship, one-to-one, peer-to-peer, face-to-face, and not a one-up, one-down. Okay, so no one likes to be told what to do. They want to share their idea. There's no buy-in. There's just simply an order there. then when they push back because they don't want to be told what to do, that's going to create a huge argument. Well, I think there's a better way. Well, I don't care what you think. This is how you should do it. And maybe you can back off from that should and say, yeah, maybe, okay, let's talk about it. That would definitely be better than pursuing the should and enforcing it or demanding it, okay? Because this is what happens when you dig in your heels and you see that there's only one way, okay, to fix that issue or solve that problem. What are you doing? You're shoulding all over your husband or your wife, and they've either got to comply with your direction, or they've got to either ignore it, which is going to make you angry, or then they've got to push back and say, no, I'm not going to do it. Ignoring simply means they just go off and do whatever they want to do anyways. And so that doesn't create a great dynamic in your marriage. But definitely, though, there's going to be pushback and it's going to create anger. Now, the other way that shoulds make you angry is when your husband or your wife do not live up to your expectations of what they should do, right? So picture this. Ladies, you get home from work early and you say, you know what, I'm going to do something really nice for my husband, okay? And so you just go to town. You go to the grocery store and you cook up this amazing meal. And first off, he's late without telling you he's going to be late. And then when he comes home, what does he do? He goes to the refrigerator, grabs something to drink, plops down on the couch, says, well, I had a late lunch. I'm really not hungry. And basically just ignores the nice meal that you made. Okay. Now, if that doesn't make you angry, it should. It's totally justified. But here's the thing. It will make you angry because inside you're putting a should on your husband. Hey, you should recognize that I spent a lot of time putting this dinner together. You should enjoy it with me. You should say thank you for the hard work that I put in this afternoon. And so whenever someone doesn't live up to your internalized shoulds, okay, you're going to get angry at them. All right, so what do we do with this? Okay, so if I've given you 3 reasons why it's damaging, let me tell you what to do instead. Number 1 is you make a suggestion. Instead of saying this is what you should do, you make a suggestion. Hey, can I give you an idea on maybe how that might work out better for you? Or maybe another way to do it? What do you think? Can I give you a suggestion about this? Would that be okay? What do you think about this idea? That's a great way to make a suggestion, because when you make a suggestion, what you're doing is you're creating an opportunity for discussion. You're creating an opportunity for evaluating it on the merits of the suggestion and not because you're the one who said it. Okay? Hey, let's talk about this. Maybe there's a better way to do it. Here's what I think we could try. Or here's what I think maybe might work out better. What do you think? You're making a suggestion. Number 2, you make a request. Okay? Make a request. Hey, would you please, whatever it is that you need done, would you please, instead of saying you should clean up the garage, would you please clean up the garage? And as I've taught you before, put a time frame on it so you're not going to get disappointed. Would you please clean out the garage by, this weekend, by Sunday night at 5 o'clock? That is a great request, because now your husband has something specific and measurable, and then there's a time frame to it. So that's a great request. But making a request, once again, is not an order, nor is it a demand. It is simply a suggestion and a request that your husband or your wife now have the opportunity to say yes or no, or maybe make a counteroffer, okay? Counteroffer simply goes like this. Well, I can't clean out all the garage by Sunday at 5, but I can do it by Monday at 5 because I'm off Monday. Well, that's perfect. You just change the time frame. Or you could say, you know what, I can clean out half the garage, but I don't think I can get to the whole thing this weekend. So now you've changed the scope of work. So that's the other way to handle a request. Yes, no, or counteroffer. But what you're doing is that you're empowering your husband or your wife to make a choice. See, whenever you put the shoulds on them, There's no choice, okay? They either have to do it or they can choose not to do it. It is a free country. You're not going to stick a gun to their head, but they're going to have negative consequences on your relationship if you are essentially forcing them or telling them what to do and not giving them input or a choice or an opportunity to buy into the option that you're presenting. So make a suggestion, make a request. The third way, though, you can avoid shoulds is by taking out the word should and using instead the phrase, I wish. Think about it. So let's go back to the dinner scenario. So you've knocked yourself out. You've put together this amazing meal. Your husband comes in or your wife comes in and they totally ignore it. They grab a beer or something else and they just go off to their man cave and they totally ignore you. Okay. Well, what could you do? You could go in there steaming and just say, well, you should have said thank you. You should have acknowledged. You should have done this. You should have done that. And what is that going to do? That is going to create an argument, right? Because now that person, chances are, is going to feel attacked by the shoulds you're putting over them and by the anger that you have. So here's another option for you. And maybe this will work. Maybe it won't. Maybe you think this is stupid. But what would happen if your husband grabs his beer, goes into this man cave, and totally ignores all of the effort that you did to make a nice dinner for him? What would happen if you went in there and said, honey, I wish you'd have seen all the work I put into this dinner tonight. I wish you'd have said, I wish you'd have eaten it with me. That would have been really nice. That was what I was hoping would happen. And I wish you would have said thank you. And then you walk out the door. Whoa. How do you think that guy's going to feel? Well, if he has any kind of a pulse and if he cares at all for you in any way, shape, or form, I think it's going to be much more effective and he's going to feel convicted. He's going to realize he messed up. He's going to realize he was totally clueless and he hurt your feelings. And I think what he's going to do maybe is come back and apologize and then try to make it up to you. Maybe he'll cook dinner the next night, okay? I don't know what he would do, but can you picture both scenarios? One is you're setting yourself up for an argument and a fight and a conflict. The other one, you're setting yourself up to maybe hear an apology because he's going to realize how he messed up. All right, what does Jesus tell us to do? Okay, because no one likes it when we should on them. Okay, no one and by the way, do you like it when someone shoulds on you? When someone gives you a lot of shoulds? You probably don't. I certainly don't. Okay, so here, let's remember what Jesus said as we wrap this up today. Mark 12:31, Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. And probably the best way to do that is in Matthew 7:12. He said, do unto others as you would like them to do to you. So if you don't want somebody to should on you, don't should on someone else, okay? If you don't want to have an argument, if you want to have peace, if you want to have a great marriage, stop using the word should, okay? So once again, here's my encouragement. Every morning, look yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, today, I will not should all over people, including my husband or my wife, okay? So stop shoulding and instead make a request, use the words I wish, and make suggestions. I think this is really going to help you. So here's what I'd like you to do as we wrap this up today. Check out my website. It's turnitup.coach. It's named after my book, Turn It Up, How to Have the Lifelong Marriage That You Want. And turnitup.coach is where you can find all kinds of resources, articles, the latest videos that I'm producing. I also have it on YouTube and podcasts. But here's the big thing. If you're not a part of the Facebook group that I run called Turn It Up, a group about marriage and relationships, then join the Facebook group and come and check it out. We're having a lot of fun there, encouraging each other and building each other up and having to have greater marriages. So check that out. On my website as well, by the way, turnitup.coach. Please, you can book a free discovery call with me. And a discovery call is simply just, hey, I need some help. I need some ideas about this situation. We can talk about what marriage coaching would look like and the investment that I would like you to make of time and finances. But it's not a sales call by any means, okay? I'm not trying to sell people on this, but I'm here to help you have the lifelong marriage that you really want. So, and then the other thing that you can do at my website is you can donate and help support this ministry of healing marriages and changing lives and making a difference for future generations. Because let me tell you, when a marriage gets put back together, guess who impacts the most? Guess who benefits the most? Certainly the two people in the marriage, but you know who also does? It's their kids. And I am committed to seeing marriages stay together and thrive and be successful so that their kids can grow up and learn how to have great marriages, and then they can go and do it the same themselves. So anyways, that's it for today. God bless you guys, and may God bless your marriage. Bye-bye.